Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Tonight, we've got a quick hit video, late night insight. I did not upload a video today because it's Christmas Eve. So tomorrow I'm going to do my Christmas list, basically. Everyone's putting out a Christmas list, so I figured I would do one. I'm formulating that now, but I wanted to talk about a fragrance that I have been wearing for the last 3 hours or so. Instead of doing like first impressions where I spray and just give you my initial thoughts for the first, couple minutes it's on my skin, I like to wear the fragrance at least for, some time to get a little feeling of what ends up happening. And this is going to be a sample that was sent to me very kindly by one of you. And it's a house that I have been a little bit infatuated with lately. They've kind of stolen my heart here from the ones that I've tried. And it's the house of Ajmal. And this one is called Amber Santal. So I don't know when Amber Santal came out, although if you've been following the channel, if you watch the videos, if you had a chance to, Fragrantica says 2019, but Parfumo doesn't show anything. So we'll go with Fragrantica and say 2019. But if you've been following the channel, you know that there was an Ajmal fragrance I bought in the last couple months off of a friend. I got it at a very fair price, and it's called Mukhalit al-Shams. And this is an amazing ambery oud fragrance that, cost peanuts pretty much. I mean, it's pennies on the dollar of what you would pay for a fragrance of this quality. Ajmal owns their own plantation oud. And, this is an Indian oud style fragrance, so it's got that skank that I really like, that animalic barnyard skank. And so this was a winner for me, and it was the very first Ajmal I've ever smelled. And if you have been following the channel and you've been watching in 2022, I did a couple interviews with some high-profile people inside of the community, one of which is Russian Adam, and we became pretty good friends. We communicate outside of just YouTube, and I'm a big supporter of Russian Adam. He's been on the channel 3 times now, and I do think that it's some of the best content that you'll find on the channel just because he's so knowledgeable, open, he's willing to share his knowledge. He's kind of like if someone like me, a frag head, turned into a distiller and a perfumer and kind of took that next step. But he always remembers his roots, and he truly is an amazing chap just on getting to know him. He's an amazing gentleman, and he is completely open about his journey and how he got to where he is and his love of perfume. And some people kind of lose that, I think, when they take the next step. And the fact that he's kept it is very special. And he sent me I'm going to call it a Christmas gift because it came a day or two before Christmas. But it was basically just a gift from a friend that he said, hey, I asked him, hey, what's your favorite from the House of Ajmal? And he mentioned a couple of them, and one of them I unboxed yesterday on a live stream and did an early impression, and it's called 1001 Nights. And this fragrance was really amazing because whenever I sprayed it for the first time, the first thing that hits you is oud, okay? But if you take a look at the note listing for 1001 Nights, there's no oud note listed. This is the eau de parfum, by the way. Look at this bottle. This is a beautiful bottle. And I think this can be had for 40 bucks, 50 bucks in the US. And it's smoky, spicy, a little bit floral, a little bit woody, a little bit musky, that oriental style. Russian Adam called it a Middle Eastern Shalimar. And that's a beautiful representation for this fragrance, beautiful starting point for this fragrance because it is an oriental, but it's also oud. It's as if, Shalimar was done in the Middle East by a Middle Eastern house, right? Beautiful fragrance. I really enjoyed my first wearing of it. And one thing he told me yesterday that kind of blew me away is that this came out in the year 2000. It's 2022. This is a brand new bottle. Actually, this bottle was produced in 2020, okay? But this fragrance came out 20 years before this fragrance was produced and 22 years before where we're currently sitting at the end of 2022. And so for the fact that Ajmal has kept this fragrance in such high condition, there's been no reformulation issues, just really shows the kind of house that they are. So I have been very interested in the house, and I said, you know what, let's do an early impression on a sample that I've had laying in my sample drawer for what feels like years, but it was probably only 6 months or so. And it is this Amber Santal. Now, so that's kind of the backstory. So it's been on my skin for about 30 minutes now. And immediately when you first spray, it opens up with this slightly pickled sandalwood note that comes across smelling to me of something like Javanol, some sort of synthetic sandalwood, okay? This was the first Ajmal I've smelled. Now, it's only the third one, to be fair, but the first two set the bar so high, I was expecting to be completely blown away. And this one, I just kind of went, eh. It was very heavy on the amber woods. When you first spray, if you know that synthetic amber wood-like vibe, you'll smell it from the get-go. It's here. It's amber woody. It's pickly sandalwood. It's very synthetic feeling. And, it actually reminded me of a fragrance from the very beginning. It reminded me of a fragrance from the very beginning that I really enjoy, and I have a full bottle, and I've talked about on the channel, and it was actually done by one of my favorite perfumers. She's kind of like the queen of cheapy budget fragrances, but I think she's so much more than that because she's done some stuff for Amouage and other houses now. She's kind of the unofficial in-house perfumer of the House of Violet, which is a very interesting niche house, resurrected house that was kind of dead and then brought back to life. And her name's Nathalie Lorson. She created this, which is Zadig and Voltaire's This Is Him. And you can see the note listing right there. It's a very simple note listing. Pamplemousse, which is grapefruit, vanilla, incense, and sandalwood. And that's it. But if you know Nathalie Lorson, here's the thing about this fragrance is it opens up very peppery. And if you know her style, she is a huge fan of using, she's a big fan of using pepper and spices in the top of her fragrances. And so this basically opens up, even though it's not listed, one of the main notes that's missing from this little breakdown right here is black pepper. There's a huge black pepper opening. It opens up very peppery and grapefruity. And it's that spicy black pepper that got me as far as a comparison goes between these, holy shit, between these two fragrances. Sorry, I just completely threw the sample out of the top of this. Maybe that was a little too much emphasis there. So between these two, there's a big comparison because of that peppery opening. And actually, I hate to say this, but when I really think about it from memory, let me spray this because it's been a while. Just curious, just because it's been so long. Yeah, I like the opening of This Is Him actually better, believe it or not. The Ajmal kind of feels like a cheaper version of it, and I'll tell you why. I don't think it technically is a cheaper version, because I think you could probably find bottles of This Is Him for even cheaper than the Ajmal. I think the Ajmal sells for somewhere between $60 and $100 for 100 mil, something like that. I think I paid like 38 or 40 bucks for this. Now, to be fair, this is a tester, hence the notes on the side, but I don't really care that it says tester. I mean, hell, it has a cap on it. So, yeah, This Is Him. See, what separates the openings between these two are a couple things, but the biggest thing for me is that grapefruit just gives you kind of like a easier, like a landing strip, like you're flying above the city, you're looking for a place to land. The grapefruit in This Is Him gives you that easy landing place. It guides everything in. It brings everything down slowly. The parachute opens, you don't just go straight to the ground. And with Amber Santal, there really is no, it doesn't feel like there is any parachute that opens up. It really feels like you just go straight into the spices and amber woods. And because there is no parachute that opens up, the amber woods, the synthetic, almost cheaper aspect of the materials used here come to the forefront. There's no masking. There's no hiding it. There's probably lots of synthetics, and this is him. Yeah, but it seems to mask the properties better, I think, because of that citrusy grapefruit. And already the grapefruit's starting to kind of dissipate. Grapefruit is a very volatile note, but it does the job of kind of hiding that harshness for the first couple minutes, right? And with Amber Santal, it doesn't have that. It goes directly into the black pepper and the nutmeg and that synthetic Javanol sandalwood-like note, which, if you ever smell beautiful, high-quality sandalwood, like if you smell vintage Mysore sandalwood, or there's other beautiful sandalwoods. Riche Ladore has a Santal 2000 that was distilled in the year 2000 that's absolutely stunning. He's used it in a couple different fragrances, I believe, and I actually have the oil itself. He was kind enough to send me. But usually it has this beautiful, relaxing, milky, smooth quality to it, extremely smooth. But it's not, people think, oh, you're going to smell Mysore sandalwood, it's going to be this beast mode. It's not, right? It's a very soft and gentle and delicate note. And Javanol, while I enjoy the smell, and I don't know if this is Javanol, I'm just using it as an example because I have smelled Javanol by itself, which is a pretty nice synthetic sandalwood substitute, but it's much more sharp and piercing. When you compare the synthetic to the actual beautiful, smooth, relaxing, almost hypnotic, almost, it almost puts you in this meditative state. Real sandalwood is a very calming note for me. And the synthetic doesn't do that. Even though I enjoy it, I enjoy the way it smells. I don't hate it. But the thing is that it doesn't give me that same calming feeling because it's very piercing. It's like an arrow straight through, right? That's what it does. And you get that here in the opening. The incense is beautiful, to be fair, and I love incense. And the dry down brings in a little bit of patchouli and a little bit of cedar. And to be fair, here's the thing, is, there is something about this fragrance that I actually do enjoy. I think it's probably Ajmal's, it's like Ajmal's chance, or Ajmal taking a chance on trying to compete more in that designer realm, trying to compete with something in that, like I said, this is a $40 fragrance at discounters for 100 mils, right? But I love this. I think this is, it's like, let me just show you another fragrance that Nathalie Lorson did. She did the Encre Noir series, and this is just one example. I've got all three. I've got the Sport and the original Encre Noir, and these are some of the best vetivers money can buy, and you can find them at discounters for 30 bucks, right? That's basically the same thing she did for sandalwood for me. This is, or I'm sorry, incense for me. So this is one of the best incense fragrances that $40 can buy. You start getting up into the hundreds, then you can start bringing in the Tower Incense Extremes, the Healy Cardinals, the other higher end incenses, right? The Amouages, stuff like that. But if you're just on a budget, if you're a college kid and you want an amazing incense, I mean, you can't go much better than this to me. And smelling Amber Santal just basically, reiterates that for me. Here's the way that it's listed on the inside of the card. You can kind of see right there. It says the top is spicy, the heart is incense and woody, and the base is woody and ambery. And the thing about it is that woody ambery, if you switch the two words around, you get amber woods. You get amber woody. And it is an amber wood fragrances. It really does feel like a synthetic amber wood fragrances. It feels like something that I would expect from... I wouldn't expect it from Ajmal from what I've tried from the house so far, because these are so beautiful. 1001 Nights is a stunning fragrance. Mukhalat al-Shams, unbelievable. I enjoy wearing this just as much as I enjoy wearing the Night. I mean, it's true. You guys might laugh, but I swear to God, right hand to God, I am not making that up. I could wear the Night, I could wear this, and I get basically the same enjoyment out of it. And the price is $30 instead of $1,000. It is what it is. I think this is an amazing house. And so my expectations were here. And then when I got this, it was like I was expecting filet mignon, and I got, you know, I got chopped burger. I got, chopped sirloin, chopped whatever it is. It didn't fulfill. It didn't meet my expectations. I knew it as soon as I sprayed it. But I can admit to myself that I would wear this because these two are comparable, for me, and I enjoy this. I do. I'm not someone who's so bougie where I'm not gonna go. Oh, I'll only wear my $1,000 rose. That's not me at all. I wear everything. I go everywhere. I try everything. I have $7 fragrances. I have, fragrances that retail for $3,500, and I love it all. I love everything in between. I love indie. I love niche. I love designer. I go everywhere. I'll try everything. Anything, any fragrance, I will give it a shot. And that's one of the things that I had to learn that skill. That was not something I began the hobby with. When I began the hobby, I was the person that was like, oh, I only wear Creed and Amouage, and, and that was a huge mistake for me because I missed out on stuff like this, stuff that I consider one of the best vetivers in the game, and it's $30, right? Because now I trust this. I don't go off of what I see. I don't go off of the price tag. I go off of this. And so just smelling this, since I already have 100 ml of this, for me, this is a pass. Amber Santal is a pass. I'm glad I get to try it. I think this is the first fragrance from this line. This, I don't know if this A series is more like their designer line or their more mainstream line. I would like to try some of the other Al Shams. Like they have one called Din Al Sham, I believe. They also have a pure parfum version of 1001 Nights, which sounds crazy, but I like this so much. I may go for the pure parfum one day, but it's a house that I'm definitely interested in trying more of. However, that that spicy opening, that there's it's like it's out in the cold without a coat. It's kind of bare, and that bareness really shows the synthetic quality of the materials to me. Which again, I'm not so bougie that I can't enjoy this. I am not in the bourgeoisie category. I can enjoy cheaper fragrances, and I actually have enjoyed wearing this for the last 3 hours. Experiencing the opening again and comparing it directly skin to skin to Zadig and Voltaire for him, I think I would just stick with this is the only thing. They're not exactly the same because this doesn't have that ambery facet. It relies a little more on vanilla and sandalwood and incense, whereas this is more, incense with amber and sandalwood, so it doesn't have the vanilla. And there is one thing I do want to point out, though. One just circumstance that popped up while I was wearing it before I end this, because these aren't meant to be full reviews. These are just meant to be kind of my initial musings on something I'll never own a full bottle of, but I do want to put my thoughts out there. I think it's an important part. Robes08, by the way, Mark, I have to give a shout out to him because he is back. He's officially back. He's uploading videos again after a year hiatus, and I'm so glad to have him back because I do think he is the GOAT. I think he's the best. He is somebody who has influenced my taste. What you see back here was probably influenced by Mark from the Robes08 channel just as heavily as anyone else, maybe the most heavily. My tastes were influenced by him. But he recently brought something up when he did his YouTube return, his triumphant, I'm back to YouTube, you're going to start seeing videos return. And what he said is he's going to continue to do sampling samples, which is a series that he came up with, just like I came up with my BS series. This is not a top 10, this year in perfume and Perfumer's Portfolio, which I think they're cool ways to talk about a bunch of fragrances. So that's what this is about. This is about talking a bunch of fragrances with you guys and gals. But he said, even though sampling samples doesn't get the views, I think it's very important to talk about what you're sampling and put your thoughts out there, because if you're recording your journey for YouTube, It's an important part of your journey. Sampling is a very important part of a frag head's journey because this is how you learn. This is how you discover. Some of us blind buy, and I am a blind buyer for the most part, because there's not many department stores, where I live in the middle of nowhere, Texas. And so, I do some intelligent blind buying, as you would say. And for the most part, I'm pretty good now at knowing my taste. I can read the notes, I can listen to someone talk about it and know if it's for me or if it's not for me. But he brought that up, and I completely agree that sampling is an important part of the journey. And so that's why I like to continue to put these out there, because it's a good way to kind of get my thoughts out there. So it's recorded, and hopefully it helps people in making decisions on what they're going to go for. But there is one thing about this fragrance that makes it a little unique, that really makes me think I could totally see why somebody maybe would go for this over this. There is a selling point for me as a frag head, and that is the note of cypress. Cypress is a very underutilized note. It gives off this evergreen, outdoorsy like freshness to it. This foresty green, almost like a blue-green. When I smell cypress, I think of the colors blue and green. I don't know why, but there's this teal-like color in my head, when I smell cypress. And it really gives off this fresh, crisp winter air. You're standing in a forest, you're next to a evergreen like tree, and it gives off this this, like I said, this green forest freshness, basically, is the best way to describe it. There is no green foresty freshness in Zadig and Voltaire. This is him. And so if you're patient, if you're someone who goes spray, spray, sniff, nope, not for me, throw it away, and that's it, you'll miss it. Because that opening I was telling you about that is so bare, so naked, it doesn't have the parachute to bring it to ground with the citruses like Zadig and Voltaire. This is him, and it's so apparent sniffing the two right now. It's actually almost a weakness of Amber Santal, but this is a Middle Eastern line, and the Middle Eastern fragrances, they don't like to fuck around. They don't play. They jump right into it. There is no foreplay with the Middle Eastern fragrances, right? It is get down, straight down to business. And that's what this fragrance basically does. But in doing that, it has that weakness of revealing itself in that you can smell kind of the cheaper ingredients, the amber woods and stuff like that. There's no mask. There's nothing hiding it, right? But if you just smell that, and if you correctly identify the cheap ingredients that come straight to the forefront without that parachute, you will, and if you just throw it away, you'll miss that very beautiful cypress that comes out in half an hour to an hour. And it gives it this fresh, outdoor, the best way I can describe it is like a fresh, green, foresty outdoor vibe. But cypress is very unique to me, and I think it's very underused in masculine perfumery. I love the note of cypress. Maybe I should do it. This is not a top 10 cypress fragrance video one day. It's actually in Encre Noire à l'Extrême. Speaking of fragrances that have cypress in them that I love, I'm pretty sure it's in this. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it is. And so, that's a pro that you can give to Amber Santal. Amber Santal has that cypress note. Yeah, I think it is in Encre Noire à l'Extrême, and I think it's in maybe all the Encre Noirs. It's in Tom Ford's Italian Cypress, which I've never sniffed, but I would love to one day. It's in the EDT of Sycamore, which I've never sniffed, but I would love to one day. So it's a note that I'm actually a big fan of. And speaking of cypress and incense, it's in Kyoto, another incense from Comme des Garçons, which I haven't sniffed, but I would love to one day. So it's a note that does kind of go with incense. and I see what they did there. And even though I've talked down about, this particular Ajmal, and this is by far my least favorite Ajmal when you take Mukhallat al-Shams and 1001 Nights, and this is third place by a mile. It's not even close. But I'm still glad I got to try it, because this shows me that even when Ajmal is at its worst, at least as far as I'm concerned, I still enjoy it. I still like the house. I like what they do. Um, you know, I'm probably just past this type of perfumery right now is the only thing. Because I would just wear something like this, like I said before. Plus, I have other incenses I could reach for if I wanted to. But this shows me that even at Ajmal's worst, I enjoy what they do. So it's a house I just have to try more of. I just have to get my nose on more, Ajmal's. It's almost a must at this point. But to the person that sent me this sample, thank you very much. These are basically thanks to you. I wouldn't be able to get my nose on all the stuff without the kindness of the community. If you have tried Amber Santal by Ajmal, do let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are, if you agree or disagree. Again, this is only truly an early impression because it's only been on my skin 3 hours. I've only experienced the opening twice now, between when I just sprayed right here and initially. And so, take that with a grain of salt. This is just an early impression. So thanks for watching, everybody. Cheers, and I'll be back tomorrow with my Christmas list. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.